So a couple nights ago, I was pretty bored, which in and of itself is not unusual. But as I was randomly just searching around the internet, I ended up on the Wikipedia page for unproduced Disney movies. And honestly, I was kind of interested. And besides finding out that at one point they were going to adapt Mort with Musker and Clements, who that's a good team. That would be really cool. But finding out apparently that they can't afford the rights. Good on you, Pratchett. Good on you. Stick to your guns. I love it. But something that really stuck out at me was this. The King of the Elves. And not The King of the Elves. The King of the Elves is, in fact, a short story by Philip K. Dick. I had heard of it, mainly because one of the collections of his short stories is named after it, but I never actually gone around and read it. But this intrigued me, this curiosed me, because I love Philip K. Dick, and I'm always happy to chat Dick. Just really get there and analyze Philly Dick's oeuvre. And this was something I've never read before, but I was intrigued. How would Disney actually adapt a Philip K. Dick short story? I don't imagine Disney having a real interest in doing a mind-bendy adaptation of Blade Runner. Wait, are they Blade Runner now? They've acquired so many things, they may in fact be Blade Runner now. Who owns the rights to Blade Runner? Oh, independent. I'm happy to hear that. I don't know, maybe they're doing weird thing, but no, they do not own the rights to Blade Runner. But then again, Philip K. Dick's short stories are actually a lot more whimsical than what his books are. One of my favorites of his is about a dog who thinks that the garbage men are aliens coming to destroy the world, and that's why he's constantly barking at them. And it turns out, of course, that the garbage men very well may be aliens that are trying to destroy the world. But in the short stories he writes, there's a greater sense of whimsy about it. And that might not totally be inappropriate for a movie. So I did the thing that most adults don't do, is I sat down and I read the book. Novel. I believe we call this in modern terms novelette, or it's longer than a short story, shorter than a novella. And the story involves Shadrach Jones. He's an old man who lives in a small town in Colorado. And in a very Cars-like way, the big highway has been built outside of his town, which has really hurt the money he makes from his gas station. So he often has time to think by himself alone, and that's where his life changes epically. See, one night, out of sheer kindness, he lets in some elves. Now, you have to understand that this is a story from the 50s. And when this says elves, they're not talking about very austere Orlando Bloom-esque elves. I mean, short, mischievous creatures that live in the woods. And the elves inform him that they've been in battle with their ancient enemies, the trolls. And the current elf king is sick and dying. And Shadrach, out of the kindness of his heart, lets the elves stay in his gas station to get better. And unfortunately, the king of the elves dies. But we find out that the elven monarchy is not like primogeniture so much. It selects its monarchs by the king just says who gets to be the monarch, and for his kindness, Shadrach is anointed the new king of the elves. And obviously, this is the single most exciting thing that's happened to Shadrach in a very long time. And in the way that's curious of Philip K. Dick, protagonist, he kind of accepts this fantastical thing without thinking about it too much, and goes around town bragging, "Oh man, I'm the king of the elves now. How exciting is that?" Now, when normal people hear the fact that their friend Shadrach, who has been a level-headed guy for many years, is now declaring that he's the king of the elves, this leads people to be nervous and scared for him, because they're worried that he's had a mental break and something has gone very wrong. Now, this is very much in Philip K. Dick's wheelhouse. This is a theme Dick will return to a lot in his fiction and in his life, that the the nature of reality and what exactly is going on in it. And the question becomes, is Shadrach actually the king of the elves, or has a lonely old man who spends most of his time in an unsuccessful gas station, maybe let that affect him, and he's escaped into a fantastical fantasy world? And with Dick, there's never a clear answer. And one of the themes you have to understand with Dick is both the real world and the imagined world are both real in a way. It's hard to explain, but it's often that there may be, in fact, several layers of reality, and each layer is real and not real in its own kind of special way. And it very well may be true that Shadrach is, in fact, has just lost his grip with reality and invented a more fantastical world. In fact, but it may also not be true. And the truth of the matter is that everybody theoretically could have lost their grip with the actual real world. And maybe the truth of the matter is that there is an epic war going on between elves and trolls. Who knows? So Shadrach goes in and out of potentially believing this. And eventually one night the elves beg him to come and join them by the big old oak tree in the middle of the night so that they could maybe finally defeat their ancient enemy, the trolls. And that's when they catch him. His friend Phineas catches him wandering around at night and invites him in. And for a second, it seems like everything's disappearing and Shadrach is coming back to the land of the rational. And Phineas convinces him to go home, forget about this elf thing, and just get a good night's sleep. And just as Shadrach is leaving Phineas's home, he turns back and he notices something. Phineas's jaw is bigger, it appears. His skin is scaly yellow. It turns out that Phineas has been the great troll the whole time. And that's when a bunch of trolls burst out. An epic battle between elf and troll emerges. And Phineas serves valiantly in his effort, and they manage to kill the great troll. Shadrach manages to kill the great troll, Phineas. And so this is. And he's initially a little distressed that his friend was killed, but they assure him, no, this was a great evil troll, and you did a good thing. And Shadrach decides that he will indeed journey with the elves to their land and rule as a mighty king. So, you may notice that if the story really is that Shadrach was somebody who's lost their grip on reality and has permanently emerged into a world of fantasy, did he just kill his friend? Is that what this story is? Did he just kill the guy who. Did he just kill a guy? Because it feels like he just killed a guy who was trying to lead him out of his fantasy world. But if this is truly just a straight fantasy world, then it's a twist that Phineas was somebody who was trying to prevent Shadrach from becoming a true leader. Now, Shadrach is a very interesting name. And the thing with Dick is that Dick was pretty well versed in the concepts of religion. And this is a very specific name that I just found out. And Shadrach is a name that comes from the Bible. And so who is Shadrach in the Bible? Well, see, a smart person maybe would have. So Shadrach is one of the three. Shadrach was one of three. Shadrach comes from the book of Daniel, and they're one of three Jewish men who are thrown into the fire, burned to death for not worshiping the Babylonian gods. So, this throws a weird wrench into this story because it can be argued, if you really think about it, maybe Shadrach Jones, our guy, is doing the same and not worshiping the false idol of the real conventional world that is presented for him, and embracing the true reality that he's in fact the king of the elves, or he just killed a guy. And this is how Dick's stories operate, is both could be true, and the more you think about it, more evidence is presented that both are actually true. So this, on the surface, it's a very whimsical, very fun short story about an old man befriending a bunch of elves. But on the surface, it is a microcosm of Dick's favorite themes that he likes to explore. So this is a pretty intense little story that Disney picked for itself. It feels quite a strange pick. But when you really think about it, if you take the interpretation that it's an old man who becomes the king of the elves, it fits pretty well within the Disney canon and oeuvre, and I could see how that could be a story. I'm sure I would grumble about it, or a little grumble about it, but since it's not happening, it's fun to look at some of the animation and stuff that has popped up. So, where is it at? So, this is from Brian Ferguson, who I think. Oh, let's see where we're seeing. There's Brian, who is an animator who has worked on several major movies, and including Emperor's New Groove, Hercules, Mulan, Princess and the Frog. And this was a little bit of a test thing he did, I guess. And I'm just making sure I forget to change over because I've done that in the past and it's been very embarrassing. And I think this is a really beautiful little bit of animation. And this is from Aaron Blair, who would have been the co-director of the movie. I bet that's the Elf King. I'm trying to figure out who. Elf. That would have been Shadrach, I assume. Elf. So many elves. It's very beautiful, very lovely art. His little note says he was inspired a lot by Florida, and I can really feel that. Apparently, this would have been a 3D picture, but so that's the King of the Elves. Disney wanted to adapt a story about a Philip K. Dick story once. I don't know. Life is weird. I would have been interested in seeing it. I really, I never know how to end these correctly. It's weird, right, that Philip K. Dick, for being such an esoteric author, has had a lot of film adaptations, right? Some of his stuff, I don't know. It's just weird, right? They've proven to be big money earners, I guess. Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report are all based on Philip K. Dick stories. He's a potent guy to adapt. I don't have anything else to say. I'm sorry.